information to create your reality the way they want you to experience it. And that's all it's about, y'all. Because when you ask for the truth, it starts jumping out. I'm just going through the damn dictionary and I looking up Alabama, and I'm like, Ali Bamu tribe, what the hell? It said Alabama derived from the Ali Bamu tribe. I said, I'll be damned. And I just started looking at the rest of it. Tallahassee. It is right there. Sheriff and Sharif. The terms are there all day long. You'd be surprised. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of places in this society that's got your titles and your names on them, but you don't even have a clue. That's the way they planned it. That's the way they planned it. Let's move on. We got, I'm sorry. Let me throw this one up right there. That's got the date on it right there. It says ancient names left the United States 1865. When did the Reconstruction period begin?
1865.
Oh! Lake Erie, Sea of Galilee, Pittsburgh, Bethlehem, New Jersey, Virginia, and Delaware was England. Virginia. Oh, Morocco. New Mexico, Arkansas, Arizona, Wyoming, and Utah. Spain. They got Ali Boomer, Mobile, Moabite, Baltimore, Maryland, House of Canaan. Oh, South Dakota, Russia, Missouri, France, St. Louis, Paris, North Dakota, China, Island of the Albion, the Muslim prison, Ohio River, South Egypt. Y'all remember that article we talked about Abraham Lincoln and Dred Scott was down there where? Off the what river? Cairo in Egypt. And the Mississippi used to be the Nile River, East Coast, France. Modern Africa was known as Southeast Asia by the Moors. Capitol Hill, Mount Calvary. Constitutional Hall, Magna Carta Hall, Western Reserve. The knowledge is in reserve. And you know what that means? It's all been locked up away from you. All been locked up. Nova Scotia, ancient Scotland. New York, Germany. Virginia, England. California, Spain, and what?
Japan.
That's why the brothers' family was scratching their head. Great-grand. These people got 300 years, 200 years of hidden history, and another 100 years of oil history. And their great-great-granddaddy told them these blue-black Negroes, they came from Japan. And they sitting there. Grandpa Love had to be wrong. We don't look like Japanese. And every year, that's the #1 discussion at the family reunion. How the hell we left Japan and settled in Mississippi? Because Japan, what y'all doing?
What you doing?
She's trying to get it on the film.
Japan was Northern California. That's why those Japanese or Chinese were already over here. But the European covered it up, say, just like the Africans got here from the Middle Passage, well, we stole a little of them too, and we brought them to build the railroads. They very good in line, y'all. Louisiana, Algiers. We got some documents coming from California. They calling California and San Francisco the Barbary Coast. They're coming on around. Where we at? This is one of the Barbary states. And it's where? Louisiana. Louisiana was also part of what? France. France. The French that were coming over here were not coming. The brother that founded Chicago, what's his name, y'all? Dusable, the black Frenchman. His ass didn't come from Europe. He came from St. Louis. You see them play, you see how they play the games? The Spaniards, we think they came from Europe. No. In the movie The Alamo, they sitting there, the Moors are playing the Moorish battle hymn, where they say the Mexicans. And the brother, and he said, oh, that sure is a nice tune. He say, yeah, it means I'm gonna cut out your, chop off your head, cut out your entrails and stomp on them. He said, well, that ain't nice. He said, well, where did tune come from? He said, well, the Mexicans got it from the Spaniards, and the Spaniards got it from the Moors. That whole movie was put together just to tell you that.
What movie was that?
The Alamo. That whole movie was for that and the star that you keep seeing in the movie. They give you hints all day long. All day long. Argentina. Hitler said he was going home. That's where it was at. Venezuela, Rome. Chicago, Mecca, Detroit, Medina. So all y'all get to put y'all L on y'all name, because y'all done made y'all high. Y'all ass already in Mecca. Y'all don't have to travel nowhere. Ain't that nice? Ain't that nice? Revolutionary War. Only thing y'all know about the Revolutionary War in relationship to a black man is about who? Christopher.
Nat Turner.
No, he wasn't in the Revolutionary War. He had a black militia, 3,200 strong. Why y'all don't know about these brothers who were part of the so-called Revolutionary Army? Hundreds in every aspect, in the Navy, in the Marines, They had to be in the Marines. Hell, they were the Marines. Come on. Where y'all think that term come from? What do you think the sword you looking at is? Your saber, your shimtar that they wearing. And they telling you that because they always keep a symbol of the one that they conquered. And they singing your song to you and got your happy ass singing, I was conquered from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And now I'm doing the same thing for him that he did to me. It's crazy, y'all. How did they miss all of this when they did the damn movie Patriot? How did Mel Gibson miss all of them?
It was by design.
Oh, was it? Let me back up. Y'all didn't see who wrote that book, did y'all?
Yeah, Dawson American Revolution.
Oh!
Yeah.
I keep telling y'all that's y'all gatekeepers. And the other group, Daughters of the American Revolution. They got the baddest facility in Washington, D.C.
That's 1984. That's recent.
Guess what? You ain't never seen the book in the bookstore. The only place you're going to find it is in the library. It's the only place it was allowed to go. In Detroit, guess where I found it? In the Burton section, the historical section, the ancient part of the library. But that book was published in '84. That's not ancient. So why was the book hidden in the historical section? We ain't gonna make it easy for you. We gonna make it available, but we damn sure ain't gonna make it easy for you. And I found a book in the historical section. And when I went to write to the sister, and she went to digging shit up for me, they hurry up and got her ass out. Now you go in there, they can't find it. They can't find the Moors, they can't find the lands of the Moors, they can't find the Moors Empire. All them books was in there. They were in the historical section. Brother Carl found one on the internet. Didn't you, Brother Carl? Oh, I thought you found one. Partners, this book here, I'm talking about. Black Courage, didn't you find one? Yeah. See, after a while, the libraries will sell them. Because they figure, well, your ass ain't coming in there, so we going to throw it out and circulate it, see if you'll find it. And I sent my partners to research, and they found one in California. They sent it to me. But you think this Daughters of the American Revolution can tell every one of you where you come from, what tribe in this hemisphere. You know who else? Joseph can. Y'all know who Joe is. head of that religious organization? The Mormon?
The more,
Right. Come on, y'all. If you look up more in the dictionary, you got Mormon right next to it. And that's not an accident. Joseph got hold of y'all ancient tablets. That's why he owns all of Utah. Come on, y'all. He owned the whole damn state of Utah. They bumped him off and then they gave him Utah. Say, okay, go on out there and set up here. You got the claim because you got the documents. And they riding around in your community. Gonna enlighten you. Before these boys, these Mormon boys, can be accepted into the community as young men, as a men, before they can take a wife, before they can be accepted in the community as men. They got to spend 2 years amongst the infidels, amongst the heathens. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all done seen them riding through y'all neighborhoods, two of them on them bikes, with their backpacks on.
right?
Sure do.
Trying to teach you.
Look like a picture. Look
Come
like
on, come here, boy.
You've been seeing
Tell me about me.
Yeah, you've been seeing the same people for 30 years. Same identical person. They look like the same person. Dressed the same way, ride the same bike, move around the same way.
And they have to come amongst you for 2 years as part of the initiation. They got their chest stuck out. Because they claiming yo.
But I got some
They
of
got
them.
your birthright, they got your title, and they got your land, and they got your ancient records.
But I got some of them in conversation up at the university, man. They ran away from me. Up at
You think not?
yeah, they got away from me.
You got the information.
Why do you think
I
they
don't know
ran
what
away from
happened.
it?
I don't have the information I have now, but
Well, you had enough.
what they was teaching didn't make no sense.
Now here's what y'all gotta pay attention to, because they tell you, always behind the pale man is a colored man. Why behind?
Because he's a teacher.
What does that behind you represent? They always say behind every good man is a good what?
Foundation. Good foundation.
Good woman, a good foundation. But behind every white man is the foundation. Come on, y'all. You see the Moor back there with his fez on, his turban on? Do you think that's an accident? It's all Masonic symbolism. This is my founder, is what George is saying. This is the light that brought me out of the darkness. This is he who resurrected me. This is my foundation. This is the pillar. My daddy. This is my roots. And it is. They always tell you he's a Mason. But the Mason's daddy is a Moor. From science to organization. I had to teach him. I had to civilize him. Because he don't possess enough of this to obtain the true science, I have to give it to him in a form that he can understand and he can utilize. Y'all ain't got no business being Masons. That's a joke. Come on now. That's a joke. You were the widow's son. The religion and the masonry was for him and his kind. It was the format in which they could utilize to raise themselves up from that animal state and nature. It was to teach them how to be brothers amongst themselves because they didn't have love. This is a Moor. And that's who was taught the system. We came out of the womb with love. We knew how to be a brother. We didn't have to be taught that. Our mamas taught that. But even they mamas had to be taught how to raise them. Because she would drop them off just like once it's out, you on your own. Y'all have no idea what they have gone through to civilize these folks and bring them to the point, but you still can't get it out of them. But you still have not gotten it out of their system. We were on our way here, and we saw a bumper sticker that was just had up me busting. It said, "Wife and dog missing, reward for dog." And this is who y'all are mimicking. This is who you trying so hard to be like. You striving, you going to get his papers, you going to get his learning, you going to get his teaching, because you want to be somebody. And he trying hard to revert back to that dog-like nature. And got you running around here. What up, dog? What up, my dog?
Yeah.
They had a report 11 years ago at the school I teach at. The sisters brought it in to me. Especially in New York, it was up like an 80% increase that when the white woman and the white man separated in the marriage, they were not fighting over the bank account, they were not fighting over the house, they were not fighting over the children or anything. They were fighting over who would possess the dog. The dog, not the babies, not the children, not the materials that they acquired. They were fighting for the dog. And over 500 cases of them grabbing the dog and leaving the country to keep the damn dog. Now that's love. That's love. I'm gonna give up everything and leave my family and my children for what? The dog. Y'all don't understand what's going on here. This is serious.
Adolf means leader of the wolf pack.
It's something about them and the dog, that they love the dog better than their own mamas.
Man's best friend.
Man, I said we would hold the questions. Go ahead.
There no question, it was a statement.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I,
Yes, ma'am.
oh, you what? Last week when I was off, you know, they got all these judges shows. And this judge, this particular judge, I never heard of him, but white judge, it was a woman and a man, black. It was 2 dogs. The woman had 1 dog, the man had another dog, but the man wanted to take both of the dogs because they was always raised together. And the black man was on TV, live TV, crying, saying that, why would you separate them? They play together, they do this. I mean, I was like, wow. And they rewarded, they did, and the white man, the judge, finally said, well, you know, you cannot separate them, and the best thing for us to do is reward the dog to Mr. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, oh my goodness.
There it is.
He was crying.
The real atomic dogs.
So you were gonna say.
Check it out, y'all. The first United States of America and its first Constitution. This is my favorite part right here. We're coming home. We got to hurry up because I got a lot of stuff we got to run through. Most Americans are not familiar with the true history of America, but rather his story. Fact, the Constitution of the United States existed long before the so-called Founding Fathers plagiarized it and made it their own. The Constitution of the United Iroquois Nation of America, commonly known as the Six Nations, the Mohawk, the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Oneida, and the Onondaga, and the Onondaga. Oh, that might be the cousin of the Slapo, I don't know. I don't know. Now, let me show y'all something. First of all, take a look at these. These images they've been trying to keep hidden for so long. I got one Indian book with these images in them, and they got it in the black and white, and you can barely see how they're dressed and their complexion. They got a couple of more, but they've been sitting on it for a long time. But these are the Mohawks, Indians in their Moorish garb.
What the hell?
Check it out, y'all. The council of the Mohawk shall be divided into 3 parties. This is their constitution. It's called the Iroquois Constitution. It's the constitution of the 6 nations that you hear about from time to time, but no one wants to go into detail. Because if you read that Constitution, you're going to see the United States Constitution point for point for point. But here's the difference. Our government officials were elected by the female. Did you hear me? If you see the brother with a sash around his waist similar to this one, it's given to him by the mother, the aunt, or the sister, and it determines his position in the government. But here's what they tell you about the Six Nations. The Council of the Mohawks shall be divided into 3 parties as follows. I ain't reading that. The Tekari Hoken, the Ayan, that's a damn shame, and that used to be my language, y'all, but my tongue is messed up. The Anayawatha and the Shadikari Wade are the first party. Let me get on down to what I want to say. These tongue twisters is getting me. Here's the main point. It says, 1, the Dekanawida appoint the Mohawk lords the head and the leaders of the what? The 5 nations. The Confederacy, the Mohawk lords are the foundation of the great peace, and it shall therefore be against the great binding law to pass measures in the Confederate Council after the Mohawk lords have protested against them. You determine the laws. You were the head of the council. You were the lords, the vice lords, and the president of the entire League of the Six Nations. You were the head of the United States before George came and recreated the United States. Oh, that's all that brother trying to tell you, y'all. And the Six Nations, New York, all the way over to the Dakotas, to His Excellency, William Tyrant Esquire, Captain General and Governor of Glebe of Providence of New York, and this map of the country of the Six Nations proper, with part of it, whatever. Yeah. Do y'all understand what's going on here? They took the Iroquois Constitution and they mimicked it point for point. If you go back and find the writings of William Penn, he talks about this. This particular Constitution that set it all up. George and them said, look, hold on. When they were discussing about how they were going to restructure their system, what type of government they were going to establish. And they looked at England and they said, no, England has a feudal system, and that's what we're fighting to sever ourselves from. But look over here. These people have far better system of government. And they said that they government, that United States of Iroquois, just like the United States of America, and then each state of the United States is a country in and of itself, is a state in and of itself. The state of Illinois, the state of Michigan, the state of Delaware, the state of Mohawk, the head state, the capital state. The Mohawks, the Moors, were the foundation and the root of the great binding law. And you done your business where? Under a pine tree. Hint. Some of y'all see that pine tree. Some of y'all set it up in commemorance of some dude named Jesus, but that ain't where it came from. Digging for the red roots. I'm a Muslim from Cherokee Blackfoot American Indian community. I am also known as Eagle Son Walker and serve as a pipe carrier, warrior of the Northeastern Band of Cherokee Indians in New York City. There are other Muslims in our groups. Many people are not aware of the Native American contact with Islam that began more than 1,000 years ago before the early Muslim travelers who visited us. Some of them lived amongst our people. Most of the Muslims and non-Muslims are not aware of this fact and have never seen it mentioned in any of the history books. Well, somebody told us about it. His name was Noble Drew. Didn't he come from a Cherokee reservation in Carolina? Oh, y'all, come on. Y'all know there's a gentleman by the name of John Drew who was a colonel in the Confederate Army, a Cherokee chief / colonel in the Confederate Army. Oh, we'll get into it. Anyway, the Peace and Friendship Treaty signed on the Delaware River in the year 1787 bears the signature of Abdel Kach and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. This treaty details our continued right to exist as a community in the areas of commerce, maritime shipping, and our form of government, which at that time was in accordance with what?
Islam.
According to federal court case from the Continental Congress, we helped put the breath of life into the newly framed Constitution. All of these documents are presently in the National Archives as well as the Library of Congress. If you have access to the records in the state of South Carolina, read the Moorish Sundry Act.
Wow.
I showed y'all that, right? The Sundry Free Moors Act. We got a certified copy from the archives in Carolina. All I'm trying to get you to see is that all they did was rewrite your history and tell you you came from across the water, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen here. Oh, I'm sorry. Now check this out. This is where it gets fun. This is a letter from George Washington to the Emperor of Morocco. It's in the book, y'all. I tried to cover all the bases in the amount of time I had with what I had. But check this out. Let's just break this down right quick. Thank you. Here we go. The great and magnanimous friend, since that date of the letter which the late Congress, by their president, addressed to your Emperor Majesty, the United States of America have thought proper to change their government and you hear me? Change their government and institute a new one. Institute a new one, agreeable and necessarily employed in the arduous task and the disagreements occasioned by so great through peaceable and revolution. Will apologize and account for your majesty not having received those regular advices. Do y'all know what those are? Tributes. Payments. He had to pay up. He had to pay. Annually, he had to pay the Emperor of Morocco for being in America. Why, y'all? Don't worry about it. The United States having unanimously appointed me to the supreme executive authority in the nation. Your Majesty letter on August 17, 1788, which by reason of the dissolution of the late governments remained unanswered, has been delivered to me. I have also received the letters which your Imperial Majesty, he kissing big booty, has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States to the Basha of Tunis and Tripoli. Y'all keep that in mind. To the Basha of Tunis and Tripoli. That's about right in here. Basha of Tunis and Tripoli. Check it out. To the Basha of Tunis and Tripoli, and I present to you the sincere acknowledgement and thanks of the United States for this important mark of your friendship to them. He's telling the rest of the countries we're going to recognize these fools as a country. We're going to recognize them as a nation. We greatly regret the hostile disposition of those regencies toward the nation who have never injured them. Is not be removed on terms of our power to comply with. Within our territories there are no mines, whether of gold or silver, and this young nation, just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war, have not as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce. But our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. The encouragement which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions. Can somebody tell me what dominion is? territory, land and control of it. Now, George is thanking the emperor for giving dominion to his commerce. Commerce is business. Dominion is land in which to do business on. And who gave it to him? Ain't no confusion about who this damn land belonged to. Not anymore. The facts is out. Come on, this is the age of information. We ain't got no business being confused about nothing anymore. He begging and thinking, I'm sorry I couldn't make my rent payment because we just had a long war. But give us time. We working on our business. We got plenty of land and we industrious. We gonna get these crops going and we gonna pay the back rent. Don't kick us out. We gonna pay the rent. Don't evict us yet, please. Come on, y'all. If he is paying a tribute for to do his business on the land, then who, if the person he's paying, that has to be the landlord, right? And that is who?
More.
Do y'all see why they had to get rid of the rule? And they say the band was sitting over there down in Cuba at the American International Conference with the document showing that he had the document showing that the United States was a land grant. And it was a lease. And the lease is up. The lease is up. The lease was up in Japan, in Hong Kong. The lease was up in Hawaii. And the lease is up here. What's the problem? What's the problem? And there's the agreement right there. That's the land contract. The Marrakesh Treaty. Now you heard about him talking to the Basha, right? He contacted Basha of Tripoli and Tunis and told this fool, you ain't just gonna pay me, but I want you on your knees. I want you prostrated. Come to me correct. The Basha is pointing, telling him, kneel, fool, for I behead you. On your knees. And they still got it in the records today. It ain't going nowhere. These is in the congressional records. What they are supposed to be paying to the day of Algiers, Tripoli, and Tunis. What was the amount here?
59.
Didn't fear approximately. Therefore, appropriated, and that said sum of $280,259.03. Pay me, my fool, and drop down. These are congressional records, y'all. Still there today. And we all confused. Why? I don't know. I'm lying, I know. Check this one out. Be it there enacted by the authority of the aforesaid that no person being of African or Negro other than the subject of the Emperor of Morocco or a citizen of some of the United States to be evidenced by what? A certificate from the Secretary of State, of which he shall be a citizen, shall tarry within the Commonwealth for a longer time than 2 months, upon complaint made by the justice of the peace within the Commonwealth, that any such person has been within the same more than 2 months, the said justice shall order that person to depart of the Commonwealth, and in case that the said African or Negro shall not depart, as aforesaid, any justice of the peace within the Commonwealth upon complaint and proof made that such person has continued within the Commonwealth within 10 days after notice given to him or her, depart as aforesaid, shall commit the said person to any house of correction within the county, there to be kept at hard labor agreeably. That's how you ass got into slavery. Because guess what? You forgot what the deal was. There it is right there. United States of America, the state of Illinois, to all whom these presents may come, greetings. Know ye that John Jones, a person of color, about 24 years. It says 27? Well, let me step back then, because y'all seem much better back then. Has exhibited, presents, and filed in the office of the county of something.
Circuit court.
I can't read it. But that is his, I got it blown up, but I didn't put it in here. This is his manumission papers that he had to have. Now, this act was in what? 1887. 1787. His manumission papers, 1844. And guess what? Them documents I was showing y'all that I'm hoping to put in everybody's hands. See, the same thing is going on. Ain't nothing changed. The agreement was you had to have your documents in your possession so that you couldn't be confused with a Negro. See, but you gave up your status and your nationality. You gave up your title of nobility to be part of the commerce. So don't be mad because you a slave. You made yourself a slave. You chose to give up your identity and become something that you was not. And what did Drew tell y'all? If you give up your national ID, then you have nobody to be mad at because now you are subject to whatever. Black Indians, another fiction used to displace a people and their true identity. If we just learn to understand why a people have been constantly relabeled more than a dozen times over the past 100 years, we would then rediscover our true identity, terms not of endearment. African, Black Indian, Indians. This ain't India, or is it? Come on. Negro, nigger, colored, NAACP, unified Negroes and unified colors, black man, black American, black African, and African American. What next? The names I have just mentioned have absolutely nothing to do with a people or nation of people, other than the fact that they were created to displace a people or a nation of people from their family of nations and cause them to be subjugated and relegated to the status of animal and chattel property. God gave man the dominion over all the animals of the earth. And if you outside of the family of nations, you are an animal of the earth, and they have right to do with their dog, their sheep, their cattle, as they will. If they want to kick their dog, they got every right. From the book of Genesis says, God gave man the dominion. And they said that that's the law of the land, the Bible. They made it in 1947. It was enacted in Congress as the law of the land. In the words of the great prophet Noble Jew Ali, the citizen of all free national constitutions are all one family bearing the one national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subjected to all the inferior names, abuses, and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for a group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of free national governments and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I had the document that was the icing on the cake, but I was hoping a brother, friend of mine, would help me because the document got distorted. But if you get a chance, go research Chief Justice Curtis, who rebutted Chief Justice Taney's decision about the Dred Scott. He said, Chief Justice Taney, you are mistaken. You made the biggest blunder in the history of law in America, and you do not know your history, because not only did Moors help write the Constitution, but in 5 of the original 13 colonies, they ran for office and were elected. This was the page, but it was faxed to me, and before I could get it copied, the fax, I don't know if it was a visible ink or what, but half the page just went blank on me.
Chief Justice who?
Curtis rebutted Chief Justice Taney's decision. And they got point for point. When I went into the library at Wayne State University, I found the book Lincoln Douglas Debates because I thought that was the original book, but it had the same page in there. But it said everywhere there were more, they removed it and put person of color. But in the original book, it says the Moors. Not only have the signatures on that letter document of independence were Moors. That's why you see the brothers behind these so-called famous Europeans. It's not an accident. They are there for a reason. But you don't understand the symbolism because they ain't teaching it to you. Now here's what the boy had to say down in Mexico. He was so paranoid. This is a page from the early American colonies, the Catholic Encyclopedia of Early American Colonies. Much of the terminology that the conquerors in the Spanish borderlands used during this initial period was drawn from the religious crusade that the Christian kingdom of the Iberian Peninsula waged against the forces of Islam during the Reconquest, 1711 to 1492, explaining how the habits of warfare forged over centuries died slow, and Francisco Lopez de Gomara, one of the chroniclers of Mexico's conquest, wrote in 1523, since the Christians had long fought the infidels, the conquest of the Indies began when that of the Moors was over. Thus, despite the fact that there were few, if any, Moors in Spanish borderlands, it was not uncommon for the colonists there to refer to Indians as
Moors.
the bows and arrows. They were accused of worshiping the devil in mosque. One of Santa Fe's residents, Joseph D. Emilio, who suffered from insomnia, his sleeplessness in 1749 was due to a fear that the Moors might attack unexpectedly. We're talking about Mexico, New Mexico. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, time, y'all. Just those are the first Spaniards. Don Fran Diego, Don Francisco, and Pizzo over there. These brothers from South America, y'all, not from across the water. And of course, we can't ever forget Estevanico. The conquistadors, y'all. A Negro dressed up like a conquistador. Because they came from the Europe then was South America. And all they did was turn it all around. A little more evidence. Pio Pico, shown here with his wife, was the governor of the Mexican state of California. The Mexican state of California, when the United States invaded, Pico organized a defense against U.S. invaders, and histories of the conflict credited Pio Pico and his brother Andre with great determination in this unsuccessful effort to keep California part of Mexico. The Pico family was amongst the first settlers of the little town that today is the metropolis of Los Angeles, because the Angels lost. Those original settlers came from the central Mexico and Sonora, and the majority of them had African heritage according to a 1790 census. Whatever. I don't want to stop. Don't make me stop. Down here, y'all. This is out of the law library in California. We're going to jump right here. The history of the judicial system started with Mexican provincial territory and the pueblo of Los Angeles governed by the Alcalde. Huh?
It's Spanish for mayor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. And it's also, it means village, what? Rule. The Al-Qaeda is derived from the, what? Al-Qaeda. That's why they're attacking y'all here in Al-Qaeda now, because they know there's about to be a resurgence of y'all. Before California joined the Union, it was governed by who and what?
Moors.
Come on, y'all. Y'all better go back and look at that movie again. Zorro, I told you. They were giving you the hints right there. All I want y'all to pay attention to this. Delaware, the forgotten folk. The story of who? And the what? Moors as what? Indians. You let them put that on you, so you went on. But check this out. Black Resource Center, do not.
University of Pennsylvania.
That's what the Daughters of America was telling y'all. It can't go out of house. Okay, I gotta go right now. I wanted to get into why y'all celebrate Thanksgiving. It ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah, you have to do that. You have to do that because I put it on the flyer.
I'm trying to get to it, but okay.
You have to do that.
Okay, here we go, real quick. Now here, Alabama, from who? Look at the name. The what?
Where are you?
Alabama tribe? Can y'all see it?
No, where are you?
Before 1700, about 2,000 Tunica lived amongst the Mississippi River. Tunica, Tunis, Algeria, and what? Tunis? Okay. Present-day Louisiana, Tunica. Women made cloth from mulberry plants while the men grew corn. During the 1700s, the Tunica supported the French, which caused the problems with the English allied tribes such as the Chickasaw, the Alibamu, and the Natchez. Y'all hear it? The Alibamu, the tribe? Alibamu tribe. And then over here in Mecca, you got the what tribe? Oh, y'all ain't hearing me. That's all right. That's okay. That's okay. California. This antique French print preserves some black Indians found in Spanish California before the U.S. arrived. Come on. I ain't making this up. There y'all go. More Californians. Florida.
Whoa.
Florida. The Seminole. Mo Seminole. Mexicans.
You ever heard of Geronimo?
And that's what they said. I'm gonna run all you Moors out of here, goddammit. I'm gonna run all y'all out of here. Here's what they got. It's this boy right here. Married white folks didn't have any land to him. This fool hooked up with him, and guess what he did? He was clever. Y'all know who that is right here? Mr. Jackson. If you look at the land patents, his name is on most of the first land patents presented. You know why? In 1836, there was a Supreme Court case with the Cherokee. The Cherokee won the case. The Chief Justice said that the United States don't own a damn thing, that the land belonged to the indigenous people. This fool said, look, we gonna let the judge,
Turn over.
Flip it.
we gonna let the judge enforce that Supreme Court case. We gonna take the damn land. Got a whole stack on that, but I didn't bring it because it was just too much to be read. This is the Cherokee chief who assisted this fool. He turned the Cherokee against the Creek against the Choctaw against the Chickasaw. He used one tribe after another to conquer until he had them all, and then he took them and said, look, come on, give me your weapons and get your ass out. This is the fool that began the whole annihilation of all the black tribes. This is the fool that said, General Dade down there in Florida and say, kill them all, get rid of all them Seminole. They say, look, I'm going down in the glades. If I'm back in 3 months, come get me. Well, he didn't come back, and he didn't go get him. So, in honor of General Dade, they named Dade County, Miami after that fool. Because he down in the Everglades. And here's the same Cherokee chief. This is what he had to say after he realized how he was played as a pawn. Cherokee leader who had helped Jackson fight the Creeks at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend said, if I had known that sapsucker was going to do this to me, I'd have killed him. I'd have killed him. And he rounded us up and shipped our ass out.
Trail of Tears.
The Trail of Tears. Look at all the Moors, all these little black faces with all these turbans up in here. Come on, y'all. And then when you get to the trail, where did the Trail of Tears end? Y'all miss history school or something? No, come on. Where was Black Wall Street at, y'all? The last state to become part of the Union. Where the Trail of Tears ended, more than 30 all-black towns popped up. And when you left the reservation, you became a Negro. On the reservation, you were Indian. When you got in your own hookup, you became a Negro. Understand the plan, the game. Keep changing their names. Boylestown Council ruled one of some 25 to 27 all-black settlements built in Oklahoma from 1890 to 1910. And that's why y'all forgot the war that was declared on y'all down there in Tulsa, in Greensboro.
That's right.
When they sent the military, the Air Force, and everybody else out to wipe out a whole black town, they said a black man went down there and molested this little white woman, but that town was producing more millionaires a year than any place else in America.
Right.
The city was growing in leaps and bounds, and guess what now? It was all of them. We created the system of commerce and economics. Can't nobody do it better than us. And they destroyed almost 200 black towns that most of us don't even know ever existed. And then they built I-75 and destroyed another 300. From Detroit to Florida, that highway I-75 ran through the commercial community of every black city. That was the specific reason why it was built the way it was built. They specifically ran it through the commercial area of your neighborhoods. And they made every one of them a ghost town. Out in California, they poisoned reservoir after reservoir to destroy the water supply. So now you have to move into their areas and their communities and be subjected to their BS. We didn't get to the Thanksgiving, but here it goes right here. Okay, here we go. This is one of the many massacres that took place here. The unholy days we celebrate. Where do they come from? Thanksgiving is said to be a day which we celebrate as a result of the pilgrims who landed on Plymouth Rock, giving thanks to the Indians who shared their bounty as well as taught them what? Farm, hunt, cultivate, etc. So in commemoration of this, we slaughter thousands of turkeys. Add some sides and we feast. Wrong. The slaughtering of the thousands of turkeys / turks did happen, but they were not birds. Case in point, the massacre at Wounded Knee. Now let me hold on. I gotta go back real quick and find this one page. Hold on, y'all. Y'all ain't seen nothing, ho. We ain't covered nothing. We talking about all the black towns. Y'all go read about this brother, the black Indian chief out in California, Beckworth Trails. Beckworth took them sapsuckers up into the mountains of California to wipe out the last black communities in California. So they named Beckworth Trails after him. But here, just to show you, you see the turkey tribe?
Turkey trot.
These wasn't birds. We slaughtered turkeys in commemoration of all the Turks that they slaughtered. All the Moors that they slaughtered. Y'all have no idea what has taken place. Do you honestly think, just think about the numbers that they tell you of us around here. Nothing and nobody in America populates as much as we do. So why are our numbers so off at this point? We should be in 90% of this country. Well, Wall Street is an example. Rosewood is an example. And here's your Christmas holiday. This flag here is coming from the Iroquois. The great binding peace. The pine tree is the symbol of peace. When they did their governmental business, they sat under the pine tree. If you get a copy of the Constitution, you will see all that in there. And then here's George chopping down the cherry tree. You know what July Lee told you? They took your L's and B's and days from you when? 1774. Where did it take place? Philadelphia. They gave you signs and symbols in the movie National Treasure, trying to show you how, giving you the pieces of the map to find your way back. So in commemoration of the great binding law of peace and your symbol of peace, with the day of peace that we celebrate every 25th day. So they took your star, they took your tree of peace, gave it back to you, and they took your star and put it on top of the tree.
And the colors. The
Red and green. The red and green. It's all here, y'all. All we have to do is go look for it. It's there. They can't hide it.
Mimi? Mimi?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go over the 8 questions I put on my cover letter?
Yes.
I done covered, I think several of them. Hold on.
Did you do, who did the founding fathers get the Constitution from?
Yeah.
What does okay, we just did that.
Yeah.
What
You know.
does the dollar bill really mean?
No.
It means you're broke. These are the documents from the Confederate, the Black Confederacy. What you do not know is more than 800,000 blacks were involved in the Confederate military and the Navy and every other aspect. But there's a book that I could not find. I got it at the house. They named the dude. It's about Albert Pike and how he went up and down the Mississippi and signed treaties with all the Moorish tribes. It was Albert Pike's job as a member of the Illuminati and the Knights of the Golden Circle. It was his job to establish the first Federal Reserve Bank in America. When he approached Lincoln, Lincoln said, hell no. That began the war. He had treaties with all the Moors and got them caught up in the war. As a result of Confederates losing the war, we suffered much loss. I'm going to just speed it up. They finally went to discussing blacks in the Confederacy. Big joke. We were the Confederacy because 90% of the plantations were owned. This hemisphere was basically all black. I know it's hard for you to believe because of what you've been taught, but hold on. We got brothers who still, ancestors still trying to collect the monies that's owed to their fathers who served in the Confederate Army. They got the documents, we got the records. This is one of the brothers. He was a Cherokee chief, Saladin. What? Check it out. Let's check it out. The last Cherokee, I heard that. The last Cherokee chief was Ramadan Ibn Wadi, popularly known as Stan Wadi, 1806 to 71. He was the last Confederate general to surrender his command to the United States on June 23, 1865. His son, Saladin Wadi, served on the Southern Cherokee delegation to Washington to sign the new treaty with the United States, and then at the end of the Civil War, he died mysteriously at the age of 21. They bumped his ass off. That's all to you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Benjamin Banneker the architect engineer of Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, he is. He was up there, but we ran through that because of the time
Did you
factor.
answer the question?
Yes, he did. He designed the capital known as Washington, D.C. Up here tells you, Drew says, why you lost your identity. Here's the brother I was telling you about, Nat Love, is his family. He got family in Mississippi and in Detroit. Was also called the Black Indian, well-known brother. But I wanted to show y'all this Cherokee chief who was a Moor, had his Muslim name, head of the Cherokee Nation, and a Confederate general. But check this out. Where's this other piece at? I just need y'all, let y'all see how and why you lost everything. Queen, did you move one of my images? 'Cause I don't see it. Was you over here, Queen?
No,
Did you move your show, Queen?
no.
I don't know, Queen. It's missing, Queen. I gotta show them how they lost the land, Quinn. It was a scorched earth policy, Quinn. Destroy everything the Negroes got, Quinn. That's what they said. Where the hell is this image at?